Friday Matinee is a show that we had on the air on Fridays at noon, and we kind of shifted some of our programming around, so we absorbed that into the Friday mornings, 9 o'clock. I call it Friday Morning Matinee. And of course, it's arts and entertainment based show is what we had. So we're continuing with that. And returning to us was a guest on the Friday Matinee a little while back, Dennis Laval. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And you just finished up a run of A Few Good Men down there in North Hollywood. You're an actor and also an acting coach, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a production of Aaron Sorkin's A Few Good Men. We had 3 weeks of performances, 15 performances, and were extremely well reviewed, and it was a huge success. So very happy about that.
Well, that's a pretty good show, pretty intense, and not always easy to put on because there are so many scene changes and stuff. I've seen them put on in a few different arenas, and some people have done really, really well with small spaces, and some people didn't. And the whole idea that making it, going from Guantanamo Bay back and forth to all these other areas and still being able to pull off a compelling performance is a challenge, and especially when you get good reviews on it. I see you're dekernelifying yourself now and starting to get back to the non-military look. But talking about this, you have looked at IMDb. You probably you go back a few years at least with as a working actor, and mm-hmm. with that, you're also an acting coach.
Yeah, my acting coaching business is what really pulls the train. I work as an actor when it makes sense. I've been working as an acting coach for over 25 years, and it started with me kind of working with my friends, and we would do sort of a round robin. We'd get together on Sundays and read plays, do monologues, worked on a lot of Shakespeare, and each week someone else would take a turn moderating, and after a while they said, "You just do it, you're better."
Yeah. And that's the thing, we talk about that and people think that it's easy. I've known a lot of people who've come out here to Southern California. I'm a Southern California native who some have made it in the industry and some have gone back home. And mm-hmm. there's the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't. And a lot of times what I see is you have people who are following a logical path to the dream or the goal, and others who are chasing that dream. In other words, they're looking for the end result without wanting to put the work in.
Well, and that's really the key to it, isn't it? It's putting the work in, persistence. When I went to NYU, I'm born and bred in New York, and I went to NYU and graduated in '82 and worked pretty extensively on the stage until '90 when I moved to Southern California. And I had friends at Juilliard who would go in front of the Plaza Hotel and open up their violin and viola and trumpet cases, and they would get paid to practice. But you can't go in front of the Plaza and do the St. Crispin's Day speech from Henry V without
exactly.
being taken to Rikers or Bellevue. And so you really do have to get together and you have to apply constant practice and persistence, because you're going to get knocked down in this industry again and again and again.
Now, did you move out here to Southern California to get into the film industry, or what brought you out this way?
Yeah, right around the mid '80s, off-Broadway really started changing, and you used to be able to work your way up, and I mean you still can, but it really became star-centric, where if you look at the marquees for off-Broadway, really legitimate off-Broadway houses like the Roundabout Theater, it's almost always populated with television and film stars, because that's what gets the people in the seats. And it became very, very difficult to break that ceiling. I came out here with the idea of wanting to do more film and TV so we could go back to New York, do
exactly.
more stage. And, logical progression of things, I fell into working with a manager who was working with kids who needed someone to run their lines with them. And where these kids were just booking small roles, I started working with them, and they started booking gigantic roles like Star Wars and Spider-Man and things like that. And my wife and I were just starting our family, and we kind of just looked at where it was going, and we said, let's just ride this train and see what happens. And it's turned into, a very thriving business.
Well, that's good. And you're located in, I believe, Burbank, am I right?
I'm on Burbank. I'm in North Hollywood.
Okay.
I have a beautiful facility on North Hollywood. I just moved into 2 years ago after being in a previous location for about 16 years.
And this is the thing, especially in finding out, because there are some organizations out there who might just take your money and make a bunch of promises, or
A lot of them.
yeah, or they'll take your money and then on top of that, okay, well, you need to use our photographer and you're paying it 3 or 4 or 5 times the amount that you should, things like that. And there's a lot of, taking advantage of the, I hate to call them, but the rubes out here who want to do something. Again, those who aren't educated in what's going on. What is the first step as someone who did hop off the bus from Farmington, New Mexico or wherever? What's the first step as someone who wants to be an actor? What do you think they should do?
Well, they can get online and research acting coaches. Actors Access is a great tool. Backstage West is a great tool to look for acting schools and to test the waters with open call auditions. But training is everything. And anybody that says pay me $5,000 and use our photographer and use our voiceover people and you're going to have a career. You just can't do that. I mean, it's a monthly fee, and it really shouldn't be more than a couple of $200-$300
Right.
for solid training.
Yes, run, don't walk away from those people. We need to take a quick break and do traffic. Our guest for Friday morning matinee is Dennis Laval, actor and acting coach. We'll be back right with more tips on what we can do, especially for those who want to get into the industry coming up after this. And we are returning with what I like to call Friday morning matinee with actor and acting coach Dennis Laval. And we've been talking about kind of what to look out for, and especially if you've just come out here or maybe you've lived in Southern California, Dennis, your whole life and decided you want to get into the acting industry, about doing your research. And off the air, kind of talking a little bit about things to do, especially in an audition and walking in before you've even opened up your mouth to deliver a line or anything like that. What do you think is really important? The first thing that a casting director is looking for the second you hit that door?
Confidence. And there's a great old saying that desperation is the worst cologne to wear to an audition. You don't get a job by going into a room and shaking everybody's hand and asking them about this and that and trying to become their friends. I always tell my students, don't go into the room and try and come away with an invitation to the Super Bowl party. Go into the room, do the work that you've prepared, and get the heck out. You don't want it. You're never going to get hired because they like you. My saying for it is, you could be Daniel Day-Lewis. It's not the best actor that gets the job. It's the best actor that gets the part. It's the best actor for the part that gets the job. You can be the best actor that comes in that day, and just you're not right.
And it's it. I've experienced that in casting as well. You know what? I went out there and knocked it out. Why didn't I get it? I don't understand. And you can't freak out about it either, right?
Well, the way you track that is, you should keep a binder that has all of your auditions and the casting directors that you've seen and your impressions of the audition, and then track how long it takes for that casting director to call you in for another project. Because if they call you in for another project, that's your callback. You weren't right for the project that you read for, but you were sure good enough to have me bring you in for something else. And that really is the business acumen that you have to apply to your acting career, because if you take it personally, and I've done it, and everybody's done it, you end up storming around and being miserable. But if you look at it in the context of, I did my job, I presented what I do as an actor, and you have to leave it in the room, and there's power in that.
And they do remember you if you've done something that's impressed them. And not only that, and when you talk about that, they talk amongst themselves too. There could be a situation. I mean, I know a lot of times what I do is I localize that experience to Santa Clarita, where I've been involved in the theater community here for 2 decades, and directors do talk to each other. What do you think about that person? How was that person to work with? And that's true, because it's, again, not just the talent. How are they to work with?
Well, yeah, particularly with, I work, like I said, I've worked on some huge projects. I've worked on Star Wars Episode 1 and Hunger Games and Twilight and Spider-Man and these franchise films. And, you get to a franchise, you get to a point where it's you and 3 other guys that are up for the part. When you go in to meet somebody like Joss Whedon, he already knows you can play the part. What he wants to know is, can I spend the next 10 years with you? Because that's what it is. When if you get hired to do a big tentpole picture. There's going to be a sequel and another sequel, and then if it's a Marvel universe or a DC universe, there's all the other characters that you appear in those films. So you have to have pre-production, production, post-production, and then you have to open up the film all over the planet. And you have to be the kind of person that can handle all that pressure, living out of a suitcase, and be professional the whole time. So I might want to hire this guy for Captain America, but he's a jerk. And Chris Evans isn't. And by the way, he isn't.
and people don't realize too, especially who haven't ever done any type of film or television, is that you got to hit your mark prepared. You don't get. I mean, there aren't a whole lot of, not really any rehearsal time. You need to be ready to go by the time they got that. They've got everything else worked out. You've got stand-ins who have done all the work for you, so you're ready to go. And that's the other thing about the industry, especially in the film industry. There's not rehearsal periods like with plays or anything like that on stage.
Well, when you're talking about a $225 million film, they're spending about $37,000 an hour when people are on set. So if they have to do another take because you're not prepared, do the math. You just cost them about $1,500 just to go back and do another take. And trust me, the producers are tracking that. When you see blooper reels and you see the stars making mistakes, it's all ha, ha, ha. But if you're a lesser player and you make a mistake, they will bite your head off in front of everybody.
Exactly. So this is, we talked about that. We talked about the attitudes and things like that. And we're moving forward, though, in preparation. I want to talk about getting that job. We talked getting an agent, because that's important. You can't just walk up to the studio doors and go, "Hi, I'm this person. Can you put me in something?" This isn't the 1920s. So
right.
What would be the step in okay, you feel confident enough to get out there, although while you're still confident, while you're still working, of course, you're still practicing, you're still taking classes, you're still networking. What's the next step in getting like an agent to be able to help represent you?
Well, I have my actors all the time, my acting students asking me all the time, "Can you make a call for me to an agent? Can you make a recommendation?" I say, I'm happy to do that, but you have to give me something to talk about. You have to do something, and we live in an age right now. It's really a renaissance, particularly for younger actors, because if you're in that sweet spot between 14 and 21, that's when they build movie stars. So with all the social media that's out there, create a character, create something compelling, write, produce, direct, shoot, act in something, and throw it up on YouTube or put it on Snapchat. I mean, there are film festivals for films that are made exclusively for the iPhone. This was not available when I was coming out.
Oh, no kidding.
All you could hope for was to get cast in a play and then beg agents to come and see it. But if you do something and you get 1 million hits, you're going to get a meeting. Yeah. But it starts with you doing something, not waiting for the phone to ring. Look, with A Few Good Men, that's a play I wanted to do for a long time, and I decided to do it. We got together, and what was nice about that play was I did it with all of my current and former students. And we produced it, and we put it up, and it was a hit, and we did that. We didn't wait for someone to do it for us. Outstanding.
If someone has more questions about the industry, about acting, about coaching, how can they get in touch with you?
My website is lavalactorsworkshop.com or .net, lavalactorsworkshop.com or .net, and the office phone number is 818-788-2183.
Be prepared, know your stuff, work with professionals. Dennis, thanks so much for coming out, and glad to talk about this. I love talking about the industry stuff, so thanks for stopping by.